Today we are going to have a discussion on epidemiological anthropology. It is also known as medical anthropology. Okay. Now you can see definitely it is a subfield of medical anthropology. Okay. It's a subfield of medical anthropology. Okay. That studies an interaction between culture, society, biology, environment, and disease patterns. Okay, what's important है? What are we discussing in epidemiological anthropology? So it's a subfield of medical anthropology. Okay, so it is studying the interaction. Studying. Just a moment. Some students are, I believe, want to join. Okay. Okay, so what it studies? It studies the interaction. It studies the interaction between culture, society, biology, environment, between culture, society, biology, environment, and disease patterns. And disease patterns in human population. In human populations. Okay. So it combines methods of anthropology with principles of epidemiology. So यहाँ पे क्या होता है? हम यहाँ पे combine करते हैं ठीक है एपिडेमोलॉजी तो दोनों कंबाइन करते हैं टू अंडरस्टैंड व्हाई डिजीज अकर्स तो दोनों मेथड्स को कंबाइन करके वी ट्राई टू इन्वेस्टिगेट व्हाई डिजीज अकर्स ओके डिजीज क्यों होती क्यों है ओके differently among different social groups. Why disease occurs? Why disease occurs differently among different social groups. Okay? So this is what epidemiological anthropology is. What you have to understand, see, anthropology is such a unique discipline. It is studying about the humans who are not with us anymore. So the students also like, the humans who are now have been turned into fossils. Okay? So the dead people, we are also trying to understand the living people and what can happen to our future generations. So epidemiological anthropology is such a branch which helps us to understand the disease patterns in human population. Because humans are the only species right now, Homo sapiens sapiens, we have not extinct. Nevertheless, we know that how our ancestors have been extinct. So evolution is stopped. For example, Neanderthal ka evolution is stopped. Well, how we are Homo sapiens sapiens are living for so many centuries. We are not now getting extinct. We're evolving and evolving because we do have advanced level of thinking process. And we are always thinking to do something either physically or socially so that we can coexist, we can survive. Now, when we are reflecting and understanding the disease patterns in human population, we are trying to know how we can actually bring the treatments as well, how we can prevent the diseases. So, if we can prevent the diseases, chances are higher that humans, Homo sapiens sapiens, are not going to be extinct. So, we will survive. Now, epidemiology is a branch, is a subfield of medicines. Okay. So, epidemiology here we are trying to understand the diseases, what can be the biological factors, what can be the social factors, plus the methods of anthropology. Now, I am going to see diseases in respect to different groups. Is clear? So, epidemiological anthropology asks questions such as, you can write this, ask questions such as, why do some communities suffer more from certain diseases? Why do some communities suffer more, suffer more from certain diseases? How do culture and lifestyle influence health? How do culture and lifestyle how do culture and lifestyle influence health? Why do people respond differently to illness and medical systems? Why do people respond differently to illness and medical system? How do inequality, poverty, and belief systems affect disease distribution? How do inequality, poverty, system, effect, disease, distribution. Okay, now write down thus epidemiological anthropology views disease not merely as a biological phenomena, but as a biosocial process. Not merely as a biological phenomena. Is this now clear? So do remember that epidemiological anthropology studies, okay, the relationship between behavior, cultural practices, environment, and patterns of disease. Okay, so we are trying to focusing on relationships. किसके बीच में? Social behavior क्या है हमारा, cultural practices क्या है, environment क्या है, and patterns of diseases. Is this clear to everyone? So anthropology plus epidemiology. Okay, so you can write on this if you want. So anthropology, write down, studies culture, social relations, beliefs, and human adaptations. Whereas epidemiology studies distributions and causes of diseases statistically. Okay, तो अगर आप एंथ्रोपोलॉजी को देखोगे तो वो कल्चर, सोशल रिलेशन, बिलीफ, होलिस्टिक ह्यूमन डेवलपमेंट देख रहा है. एपिडेमोलॉजी स्टडी कर रहा है कि डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन क्या है, कॉजेज क्या है डिजीज का स्टैटिस्टिकली. ओके, इट्स मोर साइंटिफिक इन नेचर. आप थोड़े से डॉक्टर बन जाओगे. यू आर गोइंग टू बिकम अ स्मॉल छोटा सा डॉक्टर. ओके, so you can write on epidemiological anthropology integrates both. Now it was to understand how it evolved. Classical anthropologists such as Bronislaw Malinowski, Redcliffe Brown, these people have done? They observe links between ecology and disease. Environment और disease में इन लोगों ने क्या किया? कुछ लिंक देखा. For example, we know Bronislaw Malinowski. He conducted study on Strawberry Island. याद है ना? तो फोकस हमको क्या करना है? देखो गाइस, हमेशा ना कोशिश करना है. We all have to try this part that whatever you are doing, कुछ भी आप लाइफ में कर रहे हैं, okay, be honest. Be honest in your preparation. Yes, we all want you to crack this exam. All of you who is watching me, I want everybody to crack this exam. But ask yourself, if your action is honest enough, are you putting your hard work? When you are going to put your hard work, whatever you do, okay, see, we all are humans. We will have tendency कि हमारी स्पीड कम होगी. कभी हम बहुत अच्छा करेंगे, कभी हम अच्छा नहीं करेंगे. इट मीन्स कि कभी बहुत अच्छा पढ़ेंगे, कभी अच्छा नहीं पढ़ेंगे. ओके, कभी हमारे अंदर भी इमोशंस आएंगे. वी विल फील जेलस, वी विल फील envy, whatsoever. But core हमारा अच्छा होना चाहिए. The way you were telling me, narrating that the incident, I really felt good. Okay, क्योंकि we must feel pain of others, right? We must see what is happening around us, right? Now, why am I telling you this? Because anthropology is in service to the humanity. Right now, I am teaching you a very technical topic, that is epidemiological anthropology. So most of the questions would come. For example, marriage पे question आया था, right? They can ask you question on Koshkar, goiter. They can ask you question on vitamins, like deficiencies क्या आ सकता है. But point here is you are writing epidemiological anthropology. Anthropology is here, right? So as a social cultural anthropologist, if I am investigating and if I want to understand marriage, for instance, right? Or if I want to understand what is the belief system of particular tribal groups. But if I am having empathy, if I am having humanity in my mind, I cannot act merely as a researcher who is finding some topics, some questions in my head. For instance, when I was doing my PhD, when I was on fieldwork, I used to be there in some areas. So there really, I wanted to understand how caste is working, what is the interplay of caste dynamics within Muslim community. But that did stop me intervening in their social lives. So I'm just trying to tell that how your empathy would force you, would compel you to do something for them. Okay, that is humanity. That is ultimately should reflect in your personality. आप कुछ भी करो, आप डॉक्टर अच्छे बन सकते हो, आप डॉक्टर बहुत बुरे भी बन सकते हो ना, राइट? So how you can be a doctor, very bad doctor? आपने कुछ पढ़ाई करके, आपने एकेडमिक्स कुछ अच्छा करके आपको डिग्री मिल गई, लेकिन आप अच्छे डॉक्टर नहीं हो अगर आपके अंदर एम्पैथी नहीं है. सिमिलरली आप आईएएस ऑफिसर तो बन जाओगे, लेकिन अगर आपके अंदर एम्पैथी नहीं है तो आप कुछ नहीं करोगे. Now understand this. Brownies-Law Malinowski, I have given you the context, ठीक है? So we know that Brownies-Law Malinowski, who is he? Cultural anthropologist, right? He was doing his research on, very famous research on Trobriand Islanders. Okay, so there, Malinowski, Redcliffe Brown, these anthropologists basically observe link between ecology and diseases. Okay, so they try to investigate on health beliefs. What are their health beliefs? They examine their social organization and collective behavior. Later they connected environment and diseases. Now medical science or epidemiology got some unique data. Now what is happening? These people are giving some more nuanced information, but we cannot ignore that it lacked systematic epidemiological analysis. I can see कि कुछ कहीं हम जा रहे हैं तो for instance in US we know obesity. अब obesity का major कारण lifestyle है, food. Okay, you see how one can have good metabolism. अभी मैं आप लोगों को थ्योरी बताऊंगी. डेविड सिंक्लेयर, you see he's a Harvard philosopher, genetist. मैं बहुत बार इनके बारे में बता चुकी हूँ. He is 57, 54. He looks like 31, 32. Yeah. So see what he is trying to tell. He's explaining that how one can have intermediate fasting. I believe that your body, your brain, it's a gift of God. Don't corrupt it. Okay, don't eat if you don't feel like eating. You need to control on your desires. Who does not have that, what do you call, satisfaction, or who does not enjoy doing gossiping? We all like to gossip. We all like to do something like mischievous. We all like to eat, but that doesn't mean that we will carry on and doing and doing and doing. We need to control our desires. We need to control our thoughts. We need to be human. If we are not human, then we are just an animal. So if you are acting like an animal, so people should treat you like an animal. Fine. So that is what we need to tell. This is what anthropology is telling. Anthropology is arguing that how one can bring love, how one can bring, good stability, social coherence. Okay. So while they were on the field collecting data on beliefs, values, and so on, they did not fail. They did not fail to recollect the understanding on their health. So that brought emergence of epidemiological anthropology in 1960s and 1970s. Right on this path? So with the rise of medical anthropology, public health research, ecological anthropology. Sorry? Yeah, it was not direct part of it. Okay. So anthropologists realize that disease patterns vary culturally. Anthropologists realize that disease patterns vary culturally. Health behavior affects transmission. Health behavior affects transmission. And biomedical models alone are insufficient. And biomedical models alone are insufficient. Now you should write down some scholars' name. Benjamin D. Paul, Benjamin D. Paul worked on culture and public health program. Worked on culture and public health programs. Meryl Singer developed the concept of syndemics. Interaction of disease with poverty and inequality. And interaction of disease with poverty and inequality. Studied structural violence, suffering, and health inequalities. And health inequalities. Studied structural violence, suffering, and health inequalities. Another thinker, Paul Farmer. Connected disease with political economy and structural inequality. So, epidemiological anthropology study disease in holistic, okay, not in isolation. Now, what is biosocial perspective? What is biosocial perspective here? Human health is shaped by human, sorry, next topic. Yes, yes, yes. Biosocial perspective. Now, they are arguing human health is shaped by nutrition, stress, nutrition, stress, social hierarchy, cultural beliefs, sanitation, and environment. For example, tuberculosis, TB, tuberculosis spreads faster in overcrowded poor settlements. Tuberculosis spreads faster in overcrowded poor settlements. Obesity patterns differ culturally. Mental illness is shaped by social issues or stress. Obesity patterns differ culturally. Mental illness is shaped by social stress. Okay, next is cross-cultural analysis. So here what we did, we compared disease patterns across societies. So cross-cultural analysis, comparing of disease patterns in different societies. For example, different childbirth practices influence maternal mortality. Maternal mortality. Different childbirth practices influence maternal mortality. Food taboos may affect nutrition. Now, focus on health behavior. Now, focus on health behavior. For example, healing systems. Health behavior, so it studies healing systems, treatment-seeking behavior, vaccine acceptance, stigma, and folk medicine. Now write down some definitions. Disease. Disease is biological malfunction recognized medically. Biological malfunction recognized medically. Illness. No, they are different. Disease is biological malfunction recognized medically. Illness, personal and cultural experience of suffering. The suffering. So, personal and cultural experience of suffering. Example. Two people with same disease. Two people with same disease may interpret it differently culturally. Two people with same disease may interpret it differently culturally. Now write down ethnomedicine. We don't say no, we are suffering from disease. We say we are suffering from illness. We are ill. We don't say we are diseased. We say we are ill. Ethnomedicine. Traditional healing knowledge and indigenous medical systems. Okay, like Ayurveda, tribal healing, shamanism. Traditional healing knowledge, and indigenous medical systems. They are also, yeah. Ayurveda, homeopathy, tribal healing, shamanism. Okay? Now write down syndemic theory. A syndemic occurs when, according to Merrill Singer, a syndemic occurs when multiple diseases interact under conditions of poverty, inequality, stress. तो गरीबों को बहुत सारी बीमारियां होती है. For example, HIV, malnutrition, substance abuse among marginalized populations. Then farmer का debate है structural violence, social structures such as poverty, racism, patriarchy, unequal healthcare. It also produces illness and death. So your social structure is also responsible for having death and illness. Now, what are the anthropological methods we are using to identify disease patterns? Participant observation, ethnography, interviews, life histories, cultural interpretation, all social cultural parts. Okay? Now, epidemiological anthropology, the methods kya hai? Write down surveys, statistical analysis, disease mapping, population studies, risk analysis. So it is interdisciplinary. So you need to see that epidemiological anthropology borrows from ecological anthropology, environment से. Okay, because disease is linked with climate, water, food system, different vectors. So environment में हम किस तरीके से adapt करें, that is also very important, human adaptation. So you cannot understand epidemiological anthropology without linking and borrowing understanding from ecological anthropology. Okay, for example, पहले ये point लिखो. Epidemiological anthropology borrows from ecological anthropology. Quickly write down, because diseases are linked with environment. Climate, water, food supply, resources, vectors. For example, malaria distribution depends on ecology and settlement patterns. Malaria जो है, उस काफी time से you can see it's responsible for ecology and settlement patterns. Okay. For example, what we are studying, infectious diseases. Write down. So you can get questions on this. Infectious diseases, HIV, AIDS, tuberculosis, COVID-19, malaria. Then you have nutritional disorder. malnutrition, obesity, anemia. Then mental health, depression, trauma, stress disorders. Okay. Then you have reproductive health, maternal mortality, child health, fertility practices. You can make question on COVID-19 and epidemiological anthropology. It's a case study, okay? So COVID-19 pandemic highlighted vaccine hesitancy, misinformation, inequality, migrant suffering, stigma, and differing cultural responses. वैक्सीन के लिए कैसे लोग हेजिटेंट रहे, मिस इन्फॉर्मेशन, inequality, migrant suffering. Okay, now anthropologists are studying mask behavior, funeral rituals, trust in state institutions, and social exclusions. So it shows that pandemics are not only biological crisis, okay, but also social crisis. That's it. तो पैंडेमिक जो है एक बायोलॉजिकल क्राइसिस थोड़ी ना है, सोशल क्राइसिस भी है. So by having such studies, we are making public health culturally sensitive. We are trying to explain health inequality. It is helping to have improvised health policies. Okay, so now write down significance. Epidemiological anthropology demonstrates that disease is socially distributed and culturally experienced. Disease is socially distributed and culturally experienced. It challenges the purely biomedical model. It challenges the purely biomedical model by arguing that health is political, illness is cultural, and epidemics reflect social inequalities. So is this clear?